Okay. I've tried recording this video a few times. I thought about scripting it, but I'm just going to do this off the cuff. I can come back later and put my thoughts better in a more coherent form, but I'm just going to say it as frankly as possible. One of the things that I've seen from the 5e D&D community a lot has been that that power gaming and optimizing is a wrong way to play the game. I see a lot of arguments for and against it, but I've seen a lot of arguments against it, actually. It seems like one of the main things a lot of people are looking for nowadays, or arguing for, is having flawed characters that aren't, the most optimized or the most powerful things in combat. Which, A, tells me a lot of you people have never played, in organized play. I can say that one with confidence, because if you ever play in organized play, you'll know that some of the people that write the modules for that take pride in the body counts that their modules have. So if you bring something that's suboptimal into those games, you're just asking to lose that character. Once if you put that much effort into building a character, a lot of people... Actually, this is one of the bigger things. If you put as much effort into a character as a lot of people do, it's understandable for you to want to make something really optimized and really powerful. Because you don't want to lose them. You want to give that person the best stats possible to survive the entire campaign or your entire play experience with them. And a lot of people like to do that. A lot of people also like having really big fun numbers. One of the things I've seen argued is that the DM, when it comes to balancing for the personal campaign, not in organized play, but in just a regular game of D&D, that the DM will buff up the monster's numbers or just add more of them to make the encounter harder. If you do this as a DM, I can understand for some encounters, but a lot of the time, if you do this as a DM, you're just being lazy and you're doing it wrong. If I have a person who power games or optimizes their character to the nines, then I'm going to want to give them a good, fair challenge. And when I say fair, I mean I'm not going to throw 8 goblins at a party of level 1s now. I'm going to throw 8 goblins, the same 8 goblins at the party. But those goblins are going to be hiding behind walls and using arrow slits now. They're going to be using some real strategy. There's going to be a pit in the middle of the room that the goblins set up that the players have to pay attention to make sure that they don't fall into it. The second that you start optimizing, and the second that you start putting in that much effort into your character, you have gained my trust as a DM to my player. You have gained my trust that I know that I can throw stuff that will be really fun and really challenging at you. That's one of the biggest things. Whenever someone optimized, I know immediately they put the time and effort into their character. Which I do. I'm saying optimizing. I'm not saying you look up how to make a source lock on the internet and just go with the first thing that comes up. No, I'm talking about they sat down themselves and made their own really fun, unique build. I've seen some really creative builds. One of the things that I had in one of my campaigns was the party. I was having one of those smack moments where the party was supposed to they'd been ignoring the main villain for a significant portion of the campaign. So the guy had the main villain was a lich, and or he's a necromancer that's trying to become a lich. And he raised an entire army of undead, of 50 undead, multiple of those being CR 2 and 3 and 4 creatures. And he himself was a CR 6 at the time, or CR 8. And the party was supposed to see him destroying a town, ransacking it with this massive horde of undead, and they were just supposed to run, because obviously the party's not supposed to take that on. I did the math afterwards and figured out that I threw that, with all the enemies that they were fighting, it was a medium encounter for a party of 4 level 19 characters. My party was level 4 at the time. And you wanna know what happened? Because one of my characters was one of my most trusted characters, one of my most trusted players, was power gaming to the most extreme extent I've ever seen. They stood there and they fought. And they held back that horde of zombies. They were able to cleave through at least half of it. A good 30 zombies, multiple of the CR, the undead ogre, the undead giant alligator. They were just bodying the encounter. to a hilarious extent until one of the frontliners actually finally went down and ended up dying because of it. And that's when the party retreated after that happened, because they had to at that point. But they were able to take a encounter that was statted out to be for a group of level 19 characters, and they were able to actually put in the effort and the time so that they were able to take it on and fight it and feel awesome for taking on that massive horde. Those are things that you don't get if you don't optimize. I don't have like me as a DM, I don't have the trust in players. Like, I will be throwing fun, creative encounters at my players, whether or not they're optimizing. Of course I'm going to do that. I want to give them the best play experience that they possibly can have. But if they optimize, I as a DM will start throwing more intelligent creatures at them. Not just big fun numbers with unique scenarios happening. No, I will throw intelligent creatures at them to give them honest-to-God real challenges. Because that is what I have trust in. If you optimize, I guarantee you will have a fun time having really big numbers. But also, if the DM works with you, you will have the most challenging combats of your life. And they will be so fun. That's one of those things that like a lot of people seem to miss out on when it comes to optimizing characters. Just like the way that people just disregard the entire playstyle is just saddening to me. I'll say this blatantly, if you don't take anything else from this video, I talk about other playstyles later, but when it boils down to it, if you don't take anything else from this video, it boils down to, as long as everyone at the table, the DM and players included, everyone at the table is having fun, there is no wrong way to play D&D. If your group is a bunch of murder hobos that wants to just kill everything, and the DM fully understands that and is happy with that, and everyone has fun, you're not playing the game wrong. If you're a bunch of role players that once in 5 sessions will have combat, you're not playing the game wrong as long as you're all having fun. Same thing with optimizing, same thing with any way to play the game. As long as everyone at the table is having fun, you are not playing the game wrong. The DM will adapt to the playstyles of the players. And if they don't do that, they're doing the job wrong. The DM is there to give everyone a good play experience, including themselves, obviously. But the players are also there to make sure and have an understanding with the DM on how to have that fun. Like, the group that I mainly play with, my home group, we have a member who basically does no role-playing. He power games as a murder hobo, plain and clearly. He doesn't do roleplay, really. And guess what? He has a great time. Because whenever everyone's roleplaying and doing all that stuff, he sits back and sometimes his character will, talk and do a few things, but he mostly just sticks back and doesn't, and just watches us for the most part. But the second that combat comes up, he just goes all out in the most fun way. We will never, I play with the guy in a lot of my campaigns, and I as a DM have the confidence that whenever I'm playing with him, I can throw some obscenely, stupidly, devilishly powerful encounters at my party, because I know any time he's sitting at a table, the party will not lose. I have thrown some of the most obscenely lopsided encounters at my parties before, because of him. Because I know that that's how challenging I can make it. He is the reason why that undead horde, that should have been a medium encounter for a group of level 19 characters. Because of him, he was able to just cleave through at least half of that horde himself. He made that combat go from something that the party obviously had to run away from to a really fun, it was a really long drawn out combat obviously, but a really fun combat for everyone. That's the thing. And also, if you never optimized the character before, just try, sit down, have your, baby's first, optimized build. It doesn't actually have to be good, you just need to sit down and put in the effort to try doing something. Have an idea in your head, what if I do a really fun chain grappler, or what if I do, a tunnel master, or a tunnel fighter paladin. Fun fact, that's a really deadly combo, especially if you have Polar Master with it. Or what if I, like, just try these things? Try to optimize yourself. Look for what your, like, best way to do the most damage would be with a given class. Doing this can be a really fun thing. Like, you might, if you've never tried it before, just give it, like, one go. It can be really fun to see how far you can push these things. And if it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm not saying that you're playing the game wrong if you don't optimize. I'm just saying you're playing the game wrong if you're telling other people that they're playing the game wrong. If you need to find a different group, then that might need to happen. If it's your friend group, I can understand why. Like, if your home group is your friend group, I could very much understand why it'd be hard to, like, split away from them, but sometimes you just need to make that understanding if you're not having any fun. If it's still, like, kind of fun, but you're not getting the most out of it, then that's up to you to decide. But if you're not having any fun for the, like, encounters, so... Back to what I was saying, if you're not having fun with your group, then you're gonna have to make the decision whether or not it's worth playing in that game anymore. Or you just need to, like, be an adult and talk with your GM that you're not getting out of the game what you want from it, and with the rest of your group, and see if you can make compromises. But that is a thing that you'll need to talk to with the other players. But, like, one of the biggest things I want to make, just, like, as a final statement for all this, is a lot of people that make optimized builds and make powerful, like, completely broken characters, a lot of the people that do that, I find, are from the older editions. Because lo and behold, if you go back to Pathfinder, if you go back to, like, 3.5, and you didn't have a game plan for what your character was going to be, you were not going to have nearly as fun of an experience playing with a very, very poorly optimized character compared to if you really went all out and spent 6 hours making a character and fully, like, standing them out and giving it your all. I've had two, like, characters from Pathfinder that I spent multiple hours on, just trying to make them out and make them as powerful as possible. And a lot of that building boils down to, in like 5 levels or in 7 levels or in 9 levels, this character will finally hit their peak, and they will be devilishly powerful. But I need to get them to there. In those older editions, like, a lot of the time you need to prep for the future, or understand, like, I'm not going to be the best right now, but once I get to that point, I'm going to be monstrously powerful. But those characters have also been some of my favorite characters that I've ever played. Because the commitment and the time and effort that I put into them boiled over to me crafting backstories for these characters. I put so much effort and love into them. I was, like, thinking, why was my character doing all this? And I added so much depth into their backstory as well. And so much personality. And they are some of the most, like, well-rounded, well-fleshed out characters I've ever made because of that fact. That I put that much effort into it. If I make a character for one shot in 5e in 5 minutes, they're not going to have nearly as much effort put into them, as much thought and prep time put into them in the background as I would for those characters I made for Pathfinder. So this is one of those things that, and this is one of those big things, like, I'll finally end it here after saying this, but if you do want to, like, try to learn how to min-max or optimize, don't, like, your first character, don't try optimizing for what can I get for the most damage, or what can I get for the most. Pick a part of the game that you think would be cool, or creative, or whatever speaks to your, your preferred playstyle, and try optimizing for that. Like, one of the bigger ones I've had a very fun time doing was optimizing for 5e, optimizing a shadow character that used the powers of the darkness and shadows to their advantage. So I made a Drow Shadow Monk that took Shadow Touch feat, I believe it was. So I just stacked all these things together and made a very fun, flavorful character. That's a way to optimize. That's a way that you could optimize if you don't like combat, really. Just look into it and try out these different things. You can have a lot of fun doing this, I guarantee you, if you do this, and put in the time and effort. But never say that it's... never say that there's, like, a wrong way to play the game. As long as everyone is having fun at the table, as enjoying the game, there is no wrong way to play D&D. That's how, like, well and open built the games are. That's what they're designed for. And if, like, D&D isn't giving you that type of play that you really want, then there are other, tabletop RPGs out there that you could definitely try, like Call of Cthulhu or Mutants Masterminds. But that's, like, for you to decide. Anyway, if you sat through all this, like, 15 minutes of rambling, thank you. Like and subscribe, and put down in the comments what you think. Am I terribly wrong, or am I, like, hitting the nail on the head right here? Anyway, have a good night.